believe it or not, what you're doing is very important. It's important to spread the word of football and what football can do for people, and just in general, you know, having the right mentalities.
First of all, because there's going to be people over here on the state side that aren't familiar with you and your background. So I just want to start from the beginning. So where does the Craig Butler story begin?
It began when I was a little boy. And a grandfather was a World War II vet, former national player, boxing champion as well. And he liked football. He was the first person to introduce me to the game. And he told me a lot of positive things, about life and about football and how it can influence lives. Then I moved into playing in prep school. Then from there, I went on to Jamaica College, played Manning Cup. Went, I think, 4 years. Lost 2 games in the 4 years. Shortly thereafter, there was a team in Jamaica called Swallowfield. And there was an Israeli Jamaican by the name of Mark Mendel. He was the first person to try and pay footballers in Jamaica. So he wanted to make it professional. The best talents, obviously, nobody else is paying, and he was willing to pay players, then the best talents in the country will go to his team. So I went along with my friend Richard McDonald and some of the best footballing names in Jamaica, Peter Cargill, Anthony Carbett, Dion Messi Wilmot, Dominic Spalding, David Burgess, Richie Coke, Everald Petty, all came, but they all came from different teams. They left their teams and went to his team. And while this was very good because we had a really top team, we were winning everything. Each time we played against one of the teams that the former player played against, they would break his leg or injure. So before we 3/4 of the way through the season, we didn't have any strikers because they were all injured. So coach said, Craigie, we'll play center forward. Press them. I think that was probably one of the first pressing center forwards they had. Go and press them, win the ball, lay it off, move, when you get the chance, shoot. And I was blessed to be 2-footed. Scored a lot of goals that season. And I became a striker. Went on to get a scholarship. Boston, played there, 3-year All-American. Played 1 year at Pace University before, then went to Boston. Finished, played for the Boston Bulls. Went down to Fort Lauderdale, Fort Lauderdale Strikers, then Fort Lauderdale Lions, then moved back home to Jamaica. Played Premier League, what was Major League back then. I played for Med Forest, played for Med Haven. People would know of David Wagga Hunt. In my under 17 years, I played as the first captain for him to ever win a trophy at Med Haven. My knee got damaged. I went into football from a different level. I became the GM of Toshiba for the Caribbean, became the biggest sponsor of the Reggae Boys 1998 World Cup campaign. I saw a need, saw where footballers in Jamaica, I had the experience of being taken care of, being paid a salary. I knew what it meant to me to help my life to uplift myself, and the things Mark and Wagga David Hunt did for me, my coaches, and my Manning Cup coach, Jimmy Sinclair. And it really bothered me that I had a way where I could have advanced myself academically and business-wise. But there were so many people, especially Peter Cargill, who was my captain when I played for Swallowfield. He was one of the main leaders of the national team back then. He was one of Jamaica's first pro players, went to Israel and played. A really, really good central midfielder. But in Jamaica, players were not paid. So if you're really, really poor and you're playing for a team and you want to get home, you have to beg bus fare. So you're a top player like Peter Cargill, and you're having to ask people for bus fare to go home. You're a national team player and you don't have bus fare to go home. I found that to be horrible, So what I did, I came up with what's called the Adopt a Player program with Rene Simoes. He was the national coach at the time. What I did was I adopted Peter Cargill into my company, and I would utilize him for clinics and marketing and all my marketing campaigns, and I'd pay him a salary of 30,000. Back then, 30,000 Jamaican dollars would be like 300,000, which would be like at least 2,000 a month,
Mm-hmm.
But it gave him a chance to see a little better life, and he would buy, I think he bought 2 taxis out of it, put them on the road. He was able to start a business and take care of himself. I encouraged other companies at the time to do the same thing. So companies like Courts and Dial Insurance, etc., also did adopted a player. And before you know it, all the players on the national team felt a sense of accomplishment, a sense of self-worth, and the team started to bond better, play better, and they could focus on football and not where the next meal was coming from,
Mm-hmm.
And so they did well. They qualified for the 1998 World Cup. I was very happy. I moved away to the States for several years, into California, worked in the technology industry then, moved back home, had my son, and my first son was actually, had a bitter divorce, and my first son was taken away and hidden for like 18 years. So it was really sad for me, really, really sad, painful time. And eventually I got another son, Kyle, and I remember my aunt saying to me, Craig, I know you're hurting about CJ, but whenever you find a kid that needs help, needs a father figure, help him and put it in God's bank so that wherever your son is in the world, he'll be able to withdraw that kindness from God's bank, from someone else. Kyle wanted to play football. Kyle, okay. Daddy, I want to be a professional footballer. I said, okay, well, go to school. He was going to Stella Maris. So go to school and just play there. He says, no, Daddy. He says, Stella Maris only trains 2 hours a week. And if I want to be as good as Ronaldinho, who was a star back then, I have to train every day. And so I said, so what you want me to say? You have to coach me, Daddy. So first Saturday, started coaching him. Then his little friends from Stella Maris started to come. Then the kids from the communities all over, rich kids, poor kids, inner city kids. And before I knew it, I had over 100 odd kids training every day with me at Shortwood. And it became addictive. It came to the point where I started to worry more about the needs of these kids than even my own needs. And so I remember eventually we were playing in the under 13s in Jamaica, and they became the very best, because we were training every day. That's one of the things that I thought was a problem with Jamaica's football and European football. I think from a genetical perspective, when you look at our Jamaican athletes, we're the fastest in the world. And with a sport that is increasingly using speed, I always wondered why we could only make it to that one World Cup, And then I went and examined how Europe operated, what their development was. And their development was they trained 11 months out of the year, while in Jamaica football, they only trained for 3 months out of the year. So obviously, by the time you reach 16, the Europeans would catch up, technique-wise, tactically-wise, and physically, and surpass us. So I decided to take it seriously, and that's how Phoenix was reborn. And we continued to push the envelope, to train every day, and to let the boys believe that they actually could become professional footballers. And that's the beginning of Craig Butler.
It's quite a beginning. So How many kids do you have in the Phoenix Academy?
Well, now we just started a girls team.
Mm-hmm.
We have about 50 girls in there. So we actually have about 500 kids now.
Now, is that strictly like a football academy or is it a school as well? Like, do they learn academics there or is it just straight up football?
What we did was we partnered with a school. I didn't believe in the schoolboy football in Jamaica because for the same reason, they only train for 3 months out of the year. They put a lot of hype into it. And I didn't think that the schools were benefiting the kids. So the kids would play for 3 months for the school. Whichever school would win, they'd beat their chest and brag. And then those kids would be thrown to the wayside once they became too old. And a new set would fill their spot, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, I never allowed my players to play in the schoolboy football or in the leagues in Jamaica because I honestly believe the leagues are not at the level where it would benefit our players, you know? If you're that much advanced, we're pretty much a European academy in Jamaica. I spent 2 years at KRC Genk, took their skill sets, 6 months at Ajax, took their total football, 6 months at Bayern Munich, took their core development and focus, and then I brought it back and I blended it with our track and field training. So we have sprinters who are technically competent, tactically competent, and very intelligent, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's why we didn't. But then they started to block our players from the national team. And they used the excuse that we weren't playing in local competitions. So how were they able to evaluate whether we were better than the ones that were there or not? That didn't matter that we were going to England every summer and we beat Aston Villa and we beat Genk and we were drawing with Ajax and we're beating all those teams in Europe. No, we had to. So what I did was I picked a school that was the proverbial beating stick of the other schools, a school called Mona High. Mm-hmm. And I put my players there and I started to coach that school. And I told them, I said, okay, well, you guys are tough guys. You're superheroes in the world of football because you play Manning Cup. I'll just play in your Manning Cup and I'll win it in 2 years. So within 2 years, we won their Manning Cup. Yeah. And it created history and quite a stir. And then they still gave us a fight, you know. They moved the goalposts. Now they say that we're not playing in their Premier League. So we will see. But the problem that you have with football in Jamaica is not, I don't really blame I blame them, but the real reason is because of Europe. Yeah. And the requirements that Europe has for non-Europeans to get work permits. So say, for instance, in England, they had a thing where they said you had to have 75% of your country's last 15 games as a starter in order to qualify for a work permit in England.
Yes.
Yet anybody born in England can, go and work, In France, they said you have to make whichever club wants to hire you, they must pay 400,000 minimal per year to the player in order for the club to hire them. So, but they can have a homegrown talent and pay him 40,000 or 30,000. But if you want to get somebody from outside of France, from the Caribbean, you have to pay them 400,000. Same in Holland. But there are countries like Belgium, which is why I put Leon there first, that they say 87,000 is the minimal cap you have to pay. How this all affected Jamaica is that what they didn't realize is that football in Jamaica is governed on a geographical basis. So the community of Harborview is represented by the football club Harborview. And then the hierarchy in terms of the leadership of the football, you'll have the Kingston and St. Andrew Football Association. Yeah, you'll have the St. James Football Association. And each of those parish associations, it was the clubs inside those parishes that voted for who should be the president. And then the 14 parishes vote to see who should be the president of the Jamaica Football Federation and all their executives. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, they're all connected to a club, each executive of the Jamaica Football Federation. So if you want to make money for your club, you have a work permit issue to get them into England, and they need national caps. Then you're going to put the players from your club into the national team so they get the caps. Doesn't matter how good they are. Doesn't matter how good Phoenix is. And so I've had an ongoing war with the federation for years. Leon, you know Leon, my son.
Mm-hmm.
Leon never played for Jamaica's under 13, under 15, under 17, under 20. Never played for any of the youth teams because they were pushing their players. When I took Leon to Europe and he did well and they couldn't hide him anymore, then they wanted Leon to play. The country wanted Leon to play and they couldn't block him. So they made him play. But there's so many others who are either forced to go to the clubs of the GFF executives in order to play for the national team, or they just get thrown to the wayside. Jeez. So Phoenix has a huge battle on its hands. That's why every year I take them to Europe to play against the big clubs so that the clubs will see them. The clubs was, for instance, Whisper. That's how they saw Whisper. You know, took him to Europe, took him to England. He played against Aston Villa, scored 3 goals, played against Genk, scored 5 goals. So they all knew him before he reached to 70. So they were more than willing to take him as a extraordinary talent, that's what they would call it. And so we're doing the same with all our players, but it is very difficult and it's not fair. And it's sad. It's really sad.
It is sad. Do you feel like at this point, because it's gone on so long, do you feel like it's personal?
But it's more than personal. The MVP of we won the Money Cup. The MVP of the Money Cup is from Phoenix. There's the rural schools, which is, you know, outside of Kingston and St. Andrew, and that's called the DaCosta Cup. The MVP of the DaCosta Cup is also from Phoenix.
Wow.
The best, the MVP of the all DaCosta, all Manning game, Robinho Garden, is from Phoenix. We have a player, Michael Forbes, who joined us. And because he joined us and didn't go to the club of the chairman of the technical committee, they dropped him from the national under 20. So it's more than personal now. Leon has refused to play anymore until they stop it. Whisper has also done the same. So now it's a point where we really have to sit down. You know, I'm not well, very, very sick. And I think this is a point at which we have to sit down and say, listen, it has to stop. It has to stop somewhere. Whatever you guys want, tell us what you want, and let's try and work together so that if you want money, then take some money. If you want whatever it is, but stop blocking the best players in the country from playing, or trying to let them leave Phoenix in order for them to play. Can you imagine? Think about this, right? They brought in this coach from Sweden, John Wall, and he picked 4 Phoenix players. Now, Phoenix is a properly registered club in the St. Ann FA in Jamaica. Whisper was legally properly transferred from Phoenix to Chelsea. Yeah?
Yeah.
When the under-20s list came out, they put all our players as unattached federation. And when they're done, they're calling my wife, who is the administrator for Phoenix. They're sending emails to her requesting the players to come in. So they're sending emails requesting them to come to national camp to the administrator of Phoenix. But when they do come to the national camp, they list them as unattached. So nobody goes anymore. We won't go until you properly respect our academy, because, we have Aston Villa coming down here. We have Chelsea coming down here. We have, Hammarby, we have Genk, we have Anderlecht. We have all different clubs coming to Phoenix to look at our players, take our players. We have players playing all over Europe. Some of the players in America, Romario Williams has come out of Phoenix. Several of them. So it's Matthew Wooling, and it's become an international academy now, because we have players from Suriname. We have, the all-time leading goal scorer from Suriname, Leofilo Leiter, and Golden Boot winner of the last Gold Cup. He's from Phoenix. He spent 4 years here, and now we have players from St. Kitts, St. Vincent, USA, Canada, England, name it. They're here at the academy because we have a good, very, very good product and a very, very good method of development. Good football education can be gleaned here. And instead of working together to advance the Jamaica as a product, not just as an academy, but a place where we can have, great tournaments where clubs can come for preseason, just like what they're doing in the US now. They can come for preseason and play games against some of our teams and some of the other better teams in the world. And it gives opportunity to us and gives income to the country. But instead of thinking that way, because they don't have the connects that I do, they try to block us from growing.
And through that, did you build personal relationships with each of those clubs to the point where now they come and they look at the players at Phoenix?
Absolutely. The technical director of Genk refers to me as his brother, and I him. We really love each other and have a great deal of respect for each other. Dimitri de Conde and our families are also close. And he still follows Leon wherever we go. Leverkusen is family to us, and their successes thus far this year, winning the Bundesliga, is great for us. I mean, I still have my Leverkusen gear. If I was in my office, you'd see everything there. We still love them very much and very proud to have been a part. And each year we go and we play games against their U21s and U19s. And the same with Genk. And lots of the teams in Belgium and in Holland and in Spain. Ajax we're also very close to. Real Sociedad in Spain, very close to. Atletico Madrid, Real. We've built very solid relationships over the years, and based on respect, respect for what we've done. So,
going back to just to pivot just a little bit with with Leon, because I know a lot of people look up to him, and he's kind of like a beacon for Jamaica. What did you see in him that lets you know that hey, he's gonna be the guy, he can go to the next level?
Nothing. He was a rude little boy. You know what I love about Leon, more than anything else, his willingness to train. Once he's on the pitch, I was ever going to train 5, 6, 7 hours, no problem. Lay down, eat 2 mango, get up back again, and we're ready to go. That's what he and Kyle had. And he still has it to this day, his training ethic, and he listens to me. He listens, and I can take pride. I remember some of the goals he scored. I remember he scored a backheel goal for Leverkusen. And when he scored, I was doing backflips because I was so happy, because I remember saying to him one day, I said, listen, you don't need to see the goal to shoot. The goal doesn't move. The ball does. So you just do, wherever you are, you can kick. And that back heel is something I always used to do when we're training, just for fun. And he did it, And at the interview after, he gave me the credit. He says, my dad always tell me, the goal don't move, And that's the thing with Chippy. He's relentless. He's a competitor. As I said, when he was younger, he wasn't the best. He couldn't use his right foot that good. He wasn't the biggest kid, but he had great dexterity and a willingness to learn and to work that I think to this day, and a competitive nature that Whisper has the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I can't play a game of dominoes with Chippy and we get up from the table with my winning. If it takes the whole night, he has to play until he wins. Table tennis, with them growing up, we used to play a lot of table tennis, play a lot of dominoes. Everything was a race. Everything was competitive. And, the three of them, and, was never afraid of hard work,
Mm-hmm.
and never ashamed of where he was from. These are things that champions are made of. You don't sell out. His friends that he had when he was younger are the same friends he has today. 1 million agents have come to Leon trying to get him, what they can do for his career. And instead of running off, he stood with me. And because of that, I got power, fought harder for him. And today, look at what was happening when he was playing under Gerrard and everybody was calling him a flop. Because Gerrard was using wingers. And, Gerrard was trying to make him into a Gerrard. And Gerrard is a box-to-box holding midfielder that fought and kicked long shots. The creative side that Leon is totally, you have to allow that freedom, that creativity, that unpredictability. And that's what I knew would be with Chippy. Chippy was never afraid to try things. Never afraid. And if I said to him, listen, use your right foot only for the next 4 training sessions, you'd only use his right foot. You try. And this is what makes him different from everybody else. This is what makes him so unique now. And believe it or not, he started out as a left back.
A left back. So what made him change?
Me. Because he was small, he and Kyle. They were little. So they were playing under 20 competitions against big men when they were 10 and 11 years old. So I had to put them in positions where their back, nobody could hit them from behind. They were facing the play. So they would learn the game from the back going forward. And then they'd have the physicality, the fitness running up and down the pitch. And they would use movement to win games against the bigger boys. Because they couldn't dribble because they just bounce them out of the way. So they had to pass and move, pass and move, pass and move. And they started to become really famous in Jamaica when they were young. And that's the reasons.
Wow.
But I can tell you, tenacity, determination, will, that's something that is Leon, but it's also something that is Phoenix. It's our nature. And, in a way, I have to thank the JFF for what they did to us. Because the more that they fought us, the stronger the name Phoenix became and what it meant to us. Never die, never give up. The phoenix is a bird that can't die, right?
Right.
You kill it, it springs back to life, with ball of fire and comes back to life. So we were, and still am, phoenix. We don't give up, no matter what.
So in the course of the last 30 minutes talking to you, I've heard you wear quite a few different hats. Sounds like from coaching to agent to also almost like an ambassador. Do you officially do all of those things? Are you a coach and an agent and a academy director and all of that?
Cook, driver, agent.
Mm-hmm.
Used to be the travel agent, but now it's really, I've started to spread it, and I actually raised up my replacements. My daughter Casey, she was a baby in my hand on the field, growing up. So she was grown up now, and she's a top manager, a leader in the academy. Shelley McFarlane is God just put the right people in my hands. She was the administrator at Xerox so many years in Canada. Now she came back and she's the administrator of Phoenix, and she's the most efficient administrator I've ever booked up. People, Nicola Bicknell, Eddie Layton, his son is Sean Layton. He's 15 now, but Eddie was the person who actually was instrumental in us first going to Europe, and he has a school, and he's a math genius. So all the pieces of the puzzle came together. Our team doctor, his 3 sons came through the academy. So it's very deep-rooted ties. Our lawyer, her son came to the academy at 2 years old. He's 16 now. So we're very strong, solid. But at the beginning, I did everything myself. Kyle is now coaching along with Ricardo Martin, and they're doing a great job, having played professionally in Europe for several years. They've come back now and they're coaching, so it gives me a little ease, and it happened at the right time, because now I'm very sick, but I know the academy is in good hands. The boys are very mature now. They're touching 17, 18, 19, and they're all in demand. They're top shelf quality players. Every player at Phoenix now could play in the national team of Jamaica and can play professional football. Aston Villa came down and they looked at the Premier League. They watched the semi-finals of the Premier League with the 4 best teams playing. And he looked at me and he said, "Craig, you could walk this league with the players that I see you have easily." And that was a compliment that made my heart rest. I know I've done my job. I think there's more to do, but if I was to not be here tomorrow, I know the academy is in good hands. Casey, she just wrote, as I said earlier, she wrote a piece for her school. She wrote something on Malcolm X, and the teacher responded to say that this is the best piece she's ever seen a student write. And it meant a lot to me, because I look at the evolution of history and why we are the way. I used to ask myself, why are Jamaicans so fast? Why do people think we're arrogant? And it's just the differences in what happened during slavery and after slavery. For example, in the US, slavery ended 30 years after it ended in Jamaica. And whereas in Jamaica, all the plantation owners left, and the former slaves could get jobs in civil servants and civil servant jobs and so on. They didn't have to work back on the same plantation. The opposite was true for the US because the segregation that continued, you couldn't use the same bathrooms. You had to, you had to work back on the same plantation from which you were slaves. It took a lot of work to get things to change. Rosa Parks, the Malcolm X, the Medgar Evers, the Emmett Tills. And, when you look at the whole history of that, and it's not just in the US. If you look at the Belgian situation with the Belgian Congo and how things happen and the evolution, when you look at that as a person and you understand, because the greatest thing in life is to know, huh? And once you know all of this, then you know how to react, how to respond, how to work, And I think that Jamaica, as a country, I'm very proud to be a citizen of Jamaica. Because Jamaica, I think, is where a lot of countries will be eventually. We're just big enough to be able to be a melting pot, yeah? And we're small enough for it to happen fast. So I think we're in the next 100 years or so where the US will be in terms of, the racial divides that continue. I think in the next 100 years, that's where Jamaica is right now. I don't really think people look at people as white or black anymore in Jamaica. You're just Jamaican. And that's it. And I'm looking forward to the day. And I've left my academy with that same mentality. If you're white, it doesn't matter. If you're rich, it doesn't matter. If you're poor, it doesn't matter. We don't charge at Phoenix, Nobody pays to go to Phoenix. I make money when I make a transfer. I don't want your money. Because if I take your money, you can tell me what to do. I'm developing the player to become a professional footballer or to use football as a vehicle to success. So whether it is a football scholarship or in business or just to have the right mindset or to become a pro, it doesn't matter. It's a vehicle to success. And God has found a way to make sure we're okay, And those transfer fees that we get, that's why the most important word in our academy is loyalty. And I get so angry when one or two of them may falter and make bad choices and go off. And then they fail, because you'll have a player from his, say, 6 years old, and you're developing that player. You're buying boots for him. You're taking him on trips into Europe, paying his plane fare, his meals, his hotels. You're helping him with school, his books, everything you're doing. All those years. And he reaches 18. And he says, what? I'm just going to go play for that team down the road. And you lose all that investment, Yeah. But I think that it works out in the end because for the most part, I would say 99% of all Phoenix remain Phoenix, whether they become pros or not. There's a young boy, Jamar. His dad died when he was young, stayed in Phoenix, and today he works in the Human Resource Department in the Office of the Prime Minister. And he never forgot where he came from. So it's not about just building football, it's about building good characters and building good men and women of tomorrow. So I think I've done that.
Real quick, because I'm just going to touch on just a few more things, so I don't want to keep you. The relationship you have with Aston Villa, how did that first develop? Because I see on your Instagram profile a lot of the times it's I see people with Aston Villa kits, or you mentioned that someone came to visit from the club. So like, how did that first begin? Because it seems like it's bared a lot of fruit, so that's good.
Well, it's the same with Genk. It's the same with Chelsea. It's the same with Leverkusen. Remember, I just told you that I live from the transfers. So if you want one of my players, you have to give me the tools to develop another. So if you, for example, Aston Villa sends coaches down to help, one just left there the other day. It's part of our agreements. You know, you must send a coach down. You must send us kits to wear. You must give us the opportunity to send players on tests. We must play games against each other once every year. So, because when you look at it, right, who's going to believe that in Jamaica is the next Premier League superstar? In the past, yeah? Who would believe that? Nobody. That's why every day of my life is videotaped. With videotape, I can show you the first day we went to Europe, the second, the third, the fourth on videotapes. So there's no denying what we accomplished. And the relationship with Villa is very, very strong. The relationship with Chelsea is very, very strong. The relationship with Genk is very strong. Leverkusen, you know, so many clubs, you know, Real Sociedad in Spain, Atletico. I remember, and these come from negotiations with the technical directors over the years and developing relationships, you know. So even Ricky Massara, who was at Roma before, went to Inter Milan, AC Milan, and, you know, we remain very close friends. And that's what it's about. You have to build relationships. And the relationships we've built over the years, I'm grateful for them. I'm grateful for the opportunities that they're presented. And I'm grateful for the future relationships and opportunities. We have some super talented young players that, because of these relationships, will get the chance to show their quality and get the chance to play in the pros, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But when we started out and we first went to Europe, and I walked into Red Bull Salzburg, which was the first club we tried, they looked at us and said, Cool Runnings, you know, Cool Runnings, the movie.
Yeah.
Cool Runnings, Sankaman, Usain Bolt, Bob Marley, but football, no. And they laughed us to scorn. The Leon eventually scored 75 goals in that league and won it. And Kyle had 99 assists and 25 goals of his own. So they no longer laugh. They believe now,
Yeah.
you know. But it took a lot of hard work. It took a lot of sacrifice. You know, there were times we didn't even have warm clothes, you know. But we knew what the mission was and we knew what we had to do. Today we have players, the best player in the Maltese Premier League, Kemar Reid, is from our academy, you know. We have young players all over the world now, spreading out, spreading their wings, you know, players coming to us from everywhere. And, you know, I just thank God that He gave me the strength and the people around me to do it. Because people sometimes believe, oh, Craig Butler, Craig Butler, have accomplished that. No, it's not me. Phoenix is a body of people that are very close. People that help. Even Shane that you see there, he's taking our players up, taking them into his house, you know, taking care of them, train them during the summers, had them play with him and send them back to me, you know. Honor. It's very important. And that's why, you know, no matter how sick I am, if he calls and asks me to do an interview, I'll get up out of my bed, do the interview, take a break, go get my medication if I need to, come back because he asked me to. I have a lot of respect for that.
Sorry, you mentioned a lot about your legacy and how comfortable you are because of the people that you have in charge in the different areas of your academy. So what would you hope for Phoenix Academy in the next, let's say, 10 years? Like, what do you see for the future of the academy?
Well, I want to see the Phoenix Cup. You know, if there's a Norway Cup and the Gothia Cup, you familiar with those?
I'm not.
Well, it's Norway has one of the biggest youth tournaments in the world. And just imagine every summer, you have 56,000 people going to that tournament. And it's one of the coldest places on the planet. I want to develop fields here. I want to work with my best friend, Chris Williams, to develop the Phoenix Cup, yeah, where the contacts I have overseas will come here with their youth players to play tournaments, go to the Bob Marley Museum, go to Duns River Falls, go and enjoy the beauty and the music and that is our culture, and play football. And at the same time, you'll find opportunities for our players here playing in that same league. That's one. I'd like to see more of our players playing professionally. And more importantly, I'd like to see the war between us and the Jamaica Football Federation ending, and for the best players in Jamaica, whether it is Phoenix or not, to actually play for a national team. If you look at all those players, do you know that Raheem Sterling went to the JFF at 17 years old and said he had an interest in playing for Jamaica? And I said they don't want any racehorses here. Wow. Do you know that when Leon was 17, they said Leon was an ordinary player, that he dribbled too much?
Dribbled too much?
Yeah. I want to see actual footballers who actually love the game and love our country enough to put Jamaica first at the helm. I'd like to see Jamaica getting the recognition that it deserves. Do you know how many Jamaicans are playing for England? How many Jamaicans are playing for the US? Because imagine if all of those Jamaicans that could play for Jamaica was playing for Jamaica. If there was a national football culture and system, yeah, that is considerate of what our strengths are, and it is across the board that everyone knows it, from youth up, I think we'd win a World Cup easily. But the problem is that no one wants to do the work, and everybody wants to eat at the table, Mm-hmm. So, for example, no one was willing to have Leon play in the youth teams, but when he became a superstar, Jamaica was more than happy to take him. They quarreled with Raheem Sterling that he didn't play for Jamaica and he should have played for his country. Raheem Sterling goes to Jamaica more than any other English player. He loves it here. It's his home. But they ran him away when he wanted to play for his country. And he made a wise decision at the end.
Yeah.
What I want to see is a Jamaica that is free of what we call in Jamaica bad mind, yeah, which is jealousy and envy and hatred for success, and more embracing of those that are successful and wanting to learn from them and to make them a part. I don't need to be a part of the JFM. In fact, I don't have the time, and I'd be biased. Because I coach my own players. I develop my own players. I know what they're capable of. So I believe in them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if I was the coach of the national team, I'd want to bring in Phoenix players. It's natural, right?
Right.
So that's why FIFA has in its rules that you cannot have a conflict of interest. Nobody that is in the FA can actually be a part of a club. So can you imagine if you have, for example, the chairman of the technical committee chooses who the national coaches are. Can you imagine if he was also the owner and coach of a Premier League team in Jamaica? Okay, I'll make you the coach of the national team. If you don't pick my players, I'm going to fire you. 10 years from now, I'd want to see that gone. I'd want to see a clean Jamaica. I'd want to see the best players playing, and I'd like to see players like Leon and Whisper and Denzel McKenzie and Robinho Gordon and Dante Peralta not have to take the radical stance that we have had to take in order for justice and fairness to prevail.
Regarding them, do you think it's going to need a regime change for the JFF to change, or just the entire structure is just going to have to just be changed from top to bottom?
A big part of it is how the selection process goes. Mm-hmm. How many people, the people that are choosing. It will take, I think that if the people who are in charge had even a fraction of the faith and belief that I have in our players, in our people, that they would change. They'd realize that you don't have to chase after the little crumbs that fall off the table. If you wanted money and we picked the best players and the best players played and we won the World Cup, and I'm not crazy, because believe me, when I told people the other day that Aston Villa would play Champions League, they also thought I was crazy. They're playing Champions League now.
Remember, we had that conversation 2 summers ago.
You remember?
Yeah, 2 summers ago. I was sitting in my garage. Everything you tell me come to pass.
All right. And if they could just believe, not fake believe, I believe, we love Jamaica. No, really believe. I'd be willing to work. I think that we would get the sponsorships, get the partnerships, get the funds in, get the investment. If I, Craig Butler, can have Chelsea and Aston Villa come into my country to look at my players and wanting more and working with us and sending coaches and getting games, imagine if the whole country was working like how I was. If they didn't just use football, but gave football the love and respect that it deserved. And the kids, the love and respect that they deserve.
Mm-hmm.
I think we would be way ahead of the game.
Yeah. All right. And my final question for you, because I want to make sure that I get the women's side in there too. How do you feel like, because your daughter's name is Casey, that's right?
Yeah, Casey.
Yes. So do you feel like Casey's ready for the next level? And also the opportunities where you have the guys playing European squads, do you have the girls playing European squads as well?
Well, what has happened is, for many years, Casey was developed as a manager, not to play football.
Oh.
Casey was developed to lead. She was developed. If Casey, when Casey was 7, 8 years old, she was taking her under-13 team to play against Genk, and they're walking in a swan formation with her at the front. She's shaking Dimitri de Conde's hand. Casey knows George Mendes. Casey knows Pini Zahavi. Casey knows the Aston Villa people. She knows the Genk people. She knows all the managers at different levels. She's very astute. She has the loyalty of the players. They've grown up together. And then we decided to form a girls' team. And the girls' team is now, which is new, it's this year. Oh. And the girls' team is just unbelievably, every day they're growing more rapidly. Aston Villa came down and they saw two of our players, Andreen and Princess, and they want them. They want them to come. They want to take them up on trial, and 10 chances to 1. I'm sure at least 1 or 2 of them will be in the Premier League in the coming year. Yeah. So this is the whole idea, the leadership of the academy, in terms of negotiations, in terms of the business of football. Casey has it locked, and she has her Auntie Shelley, who is 100% behind her. We're making sure that when it's either we retire or God takes us off this planet, Phoenix will continue. And we've made sure that the people, not just Casey, but Haley, my other daughter, she loves football. She actually plays, and she plays well too. She's a right winger, stay like Sherrari. And we have, Kyle has returned. Leon plays a big part in the academy still. All of them. So the idea is to advance football through the chess pieces that we have,